Alright, so today I'm going to make some face jugs. What I did is I threw the jug uh, a couple of days ago, so now it's at the point where it's leather hard. And when I do these, the first thing I do is I make the nose. And what I'm going to do is I'm just starting out with a piece of clay that's like teardrop shaped. Yeah, you want to make it as close to the shape that you want before you even put it on the pot, and it just makes it a little bit easier to form. If you have any questions, type them in, and I'll try to answer them as I go. All right. So this is like a serrated, scratchy tool. That's the most important thing with these is that you score everything. Score them and let them dry kind of slow. That's sort of the trick. I mean, when I make these, another thing to think about is always use more clay for the feature than you need. Because what I'm doing is I'm taking some of this clay and I'm blending it into the surface of the pot, and then you wind up cutting some away. And blending some of it in. So if you start out with not enough, then you're going to realize, it's a lot easier to take it away than it is to put it back on. And right away, like, I'm already starting to see how I want this face to look. I don't ever, generally I don't start out with a plan, but they sort of take on their own personality relatively quick. What I like to do is smooth them out as much as I can with my fingers before I go to any water. Because once you start putting water on them, they start to soften back up again. And that, sometimes then the jug wants to like sink in on you as you're working on it. I have two cameras going on right now, so I did a video the other day and people were asking to see the other view. If you go on my YouTube channel, you'll see the second camera, and you'll be able to see it from another angle if that's what you're after. These are really fun to make. I enjoy them. When I do workshops with showing people how to do these, and what always happens is people want to make them like all super symmetrical and perfect. Kind of the more wonky they are, the more personality they have, I think. So it's kind of like, just worry about attaching everything and putting things on the way that they should be put on, and sort of, I don't know, I like to just let it develop its own personality as I go. Alright, so The clay that I'm working with is brown. But I'm also going to use a white clay. So what I like to do is I do the nose first, then I'm going to go back down and I'm going to put on all the white clay that I'm going to use, and then I'll switch back to the brown, just so I don't have to keep getting junk all over my hands and like contaminating the clay. You know, you wind up getting like streaks of brown and white. So I'm gonna make the eyeballs now. And I always like to wait. Till the end to put the actual pupils in. Because as you make it, it kind of develops its own personality, and I think that if you wait till the end, you can kind of roll with that a little bit better. I think I'm gonna make this guy smoking. Hi, Lori. Alright, so we're gonna make this guy a cigar. So I'm just gonna, I like to twist them a little bit so that they look like they've been hand rolled. So this is gonna be like the ash on the end of it. Alright, here's a cigar. Just gonna texture that up, make it look like ash. I love doing these face jug workshops with people that have never touched clay before, because once they get over their initial fear that they're like gonna break it or whatever and mess it up, they come out really awesome. And it's a cool thing for people to like let loose and kind of experience the materials, without having a whole lot of experience or any experience. So I'm just going to make a dent here where that cigar is going to go. And I'll scratch this up. Yeah, I'm going to flatten it out a little bit more, and then I'll scratch it up. Wet that. Okay, so you see where I'm going with that. Alright, so now I'm going to do my eyes. These are my eyeballs. Alright, we'll score those up. like that one's faster. Thanks, Debbie. I probably should make every one of them I make have a cigar in the mouth because they're always the first ones to sell when I do shows. But sometimes I like the way the smiles look too. All right, so now I'm gonna start doing the eyelids. And what I do is I just twist up like a coil, kind of tapered. You want to make sure it's smooth. Anything that's not smooth on it at this point is just gonna make it harder for you to smooth out later. So. Try to get it as smooth as possible. Alright, so now I'm gonna start building up my eyelids. I've been making these face jugs for, I don't know, about 15 years now. They started out as, I used to like to put faces on stuff, and then I had a customer that kind of made a request that they wanted me to do some traditional looking jugs, and I made some for him, and as I was working on them, I had a gallery at the time. I was working on them in the store. There was a lot of people inquiring about, if there would be more. And, 15 years later, I'm still making a whole lot of face jugs. If you get some brown in the white, it's not that big of a deal. You can wipe it off once once you go a little further into it. When you're done, just clean them up. I like to mess around with different textures and stuff when I do these. They tend to catch the glazes cool. It's not very often that I get to actually sit down and have fun. Usually when I do them, I'm doing them for somebody or I'm teaching a workshop and I'm trying to watch the class. So this is kind of fun to just be able to play around a little bit. Let's give this guy some big bags under his eyes. If you guys have any questions, type them in. I can kind of see over my shoulder. I wish there was a way that you could get it where people could just talk in, but... All right, so I'm getting there with my eyeballs here. All right, so now I'm gonna do my upper eyelid. Remember what I said before. You want to use more clay than less because you can always blend it in, but it's really hard to put back. And I like to do the bottom first, so that the bottom like eye lid, so then that way I can kind of move it and make it look more like the edge of an eye. People will ask why I had this cup on top. The reason that I have the cup on top is that um, as you're sitting working on the jug, the rim is the first thing to want to dry out. Um, so if you don't have that cup on there or something covering a little piece of plastic or something, uh, what'll happen is that the rim will get so dry that you won't be able to put a handle on it when you're done. Sometimes it's in the way, so you can take it off, but it's just a good idea to leave it on there. So it's funny. Who just said that? Becky. I really don't like to hand build. 90% of what I do is thrown, and I throw the jug first. But I love making these jugs, but definitely. I definitely don't really enjoy hand building unless it's on a face jug. I think because this is a little bit more loose. It's a little bit of a looser way to work than hand building where you're like cutting and slipping and scoring. There's a lot of freedom when you're doing these because I feel like there's just a little bit more movement and I'm to be completely honest, I'm just not really that good at hand building. Not my thing. Now, the other thing you're probably thinking is I'm not scoring uh, these pieces because I'm like constantly wiping on the surface. It's really wet and tacky, and the clay that I'm using is also very tacky. Uh, I have not really ever had a problem. Maybe a couple here and there of things not sticking, um, but I just don't score them as I'm working. I feel like it slows me down and it also takes away from like the gesture of it. Um, I'm not saying that that's how you should do them because they may not work out for you, but that's how I work. All right, so I'm just about done with the top part um, of his face, the upper part. And then now I'm gonna go to the. I'm gonna go around and I'll start doing the lips. Becky, I'm using. What am I using? The brown clay is standard. Standard 182, and the white clay is standard. No, the white clay is 182, and the brown clay is 112, I believe. Um, but I can look. I'll type that in later. But I think it's not anything special. It's just a brown stoneware and a white stoneware. I don't use these ones for any particular reason except for they're just different colors. And I find that when I order these clays, these two particular ones tend to come at a nice consistency, where some of the clays I get come a little stiff or a little too soft, which I don't like. So I'm just gonna wrap this up, try to get it up around the cigar a little bit. So when I work on these guys, when I do their bottom lips, I like to flip them upside down. I throw them on these bats, so it's still stuck. Sometimes if it comes off, it makes it a little bit easier. A little bit easier to work on. But I like having them on the bats too, just because it makes them a little bit easier to handle. Once you get a lot of stuff on them, I don't have to pick them up from. I can pick them up from the bat. Alright, so there is his bottom lip. And as you're working, I like to keep the clay that I'm using in a bag. Grog. There's some grog in this clay. I mean, it's not particularly groggy. A clay with more grog, I think would be a little harder to work with, because the more you smooth it, you wind up rubbing off all that clay on the top, and then it's like it becomes very sandy on the surface. Where something a little bit more in between is probably better because you're not going to get such a rough surface. All right, so let's push this in there. Right. Jam that down there. Now, as you know from looking at your face in the mirror, you have this thing in the middle of your face, middle of your lip, called a philtrum. Right? We're going to make that. And that will make it look a little bit more like a lip, less like a coil. Sometimes it gets hard to get into these little tiny spots. I like some of these little wooden tools and kind of get in there. But primarily my favorite tools to work with when I'm making these things are my fingers. Although I need to cut my nails. When your nails are a little long, it kind of makes it really hard to work. Let's see here. It's always good to look at it from different angles too. You'll see spots that you didn't smooth out. As you're working, generally if it looks like a crack, it probably will form one. So try to get it as smooth as possible as you're working on it. Any boogers and lumps and bumps, sharp edges, get rid of all that stuff because it's just gonna, once it's fired, it's gonna be on there, it'll be on there forever. Alright. How's that looking? Pretty good. I'll show these guys over here, pretty good. Alright, so I'm going to do some, what am I going to do now? Let's see. I'm going to give them some smile lines. I do a bunch of these that are tiny. They're like this big. I think I have one here. I'll show you. They're really cool, but they're such a pain in the butt because they're so small. You're working on them with like Q-tips and toothpicks instead of your fingers. but they're really funny looking when they're done. Really kind of fun. A couple of years ago, I had an idea that I was gonna try to make 1,000 of them and put them in my wood kiln, and I wound up. I think I made like 400 before like I just got completely burned out of making the teeny tiny ones. Um, and they were like everywhere in my workshop in my house, because I bring them home and work them at the kitchen table. Um, but it was a great exercise in different faces, because you're trying to make them all look different. Pour out of the nose or cigar. Design to make an interesting picture. Well, the problem is that if it was to pour out of the nose of the cigar, you would only be able to fill it up, to that level. So if it was pouring out of the cigar, you would only be able to have about an inch of liquid in there. And if it was out of the nose, again, you would only be able to have it about half full. So, I mean, it's like that form over function thing, it just makes it, you would have to really change the design and have maybe the cigar come up, but then it probably wouldn't pour very good because of the shape the cigar would make. But yeah, I mean, you could do anything. It's just clay. I kind of dig them traditional. I like I just like the old. I love the shape of the old jugs. And I think they're hilarious with the faces on them. You gotta be careful. If you buy one, next thing you know, you're buying a ton of them. These are an easy thing to collect. I have a lot of customers that they get mad at me when I don't have any new ones. How do you glaze? So, when I wood fire them, I don't glaze them. I just glaze the inside, and then I'll glaze just like the top of the rim, so that the inside's all sealed. But then I do have a finished one. Give me 1 second, and it's probably covered in dust, but I'll grab it. Just give me 1 sec. So I'm just washing the dirt off, dust off of this one. So there's a finished one. And then that one is not from my wood kiln. That one is actually from my electric kiln. This is one of the wood fired ones. That's a mini. You know that it's just not glazed. I just let the the ash and salts and stuff kind of glaze it. But all right, let's get back to work here. Yeah, they do kind of look like the Grinch, especially when they're green. Alright, so let's see, what else can we do on this guy? I am going to give him a mole. Because I like the way that looks. And then we're gonna do some ears on this dude. Do you sell the little ones? I do sell the little ones. I'm gonna be loading up my Etsy store with them pretty soon. I have some in my bins that I bring to the shows. So I'll load up the Etsy shop in another couple of weeks. All right, there's some ears. This is the white clay. Is that white clay or porcelain? Amy, I use porcelain. I use porcelain if I know that I'm going to put them in my wood kiln. I'll use white for the teeth and the eyes because it just really like gets super white, and I like the way it looks. When I'm doing them, if I'm going to fire them in my electric kiln, like these ones, I'm not really sure what I'm going to do with them yet. So I'll just use the white clay, white stoneware. The problem sometimes with the white stoneware in the wood kiln is it wants to flash like orange, which is okay. You know, I mean, it's just the way they come out. But if I'm intentionally making them for wood firing, I'll use porcelain. So that's kind of the long answer to that question. All right, so I'm gonna put a handle on this thing now. And there it is. So we'll call that guy. Oh, wait a minute, he's not done yet. So now the final thing to do is to make your eyeballs. This is just like you can use anything, but first I like to see where they look like they're looking. He looks like he's looking up. So I'm gonna poke that in there. I'll make this one up here. D5 electric ones are cone 6. That's a good looking. Actually, it's for cone 6. Gene, that's not a public please. But yeah, that's a cone 6 please. Hold on a minute. Alright, so let's see here. Give one, let's show you guys. That's him. Alright, he's all set. Now this dude gets to dry. I'll show this camera here. Alright. Alright guys. See you again. And that's it for today. If you have any questions, let's see here. Flip that around. Oop. You're welcome. Alright, let me see how to finish this thing up.